so now we're going to talk about meditation. First we'll go over benefits. Benefits of meditation: enhanced brain function, increases mental focus, deeper peace of mind, increases blood flow and slows heart rate, enhances the body's immune system. Research has revealed that meditation increases the activity of natural killer cells, which kill bacteria and cancer cells, also reduces activity of viruses and emotional distress, helps reverse heart disease, reduces feelings of depression, anxiety, anger, and confusion, provides a sense of calm, peace, and balance, helps control thoughts, increases energy, reduces stress, balances brain hemispheres, improves memory, increases intuition, decreases respiratory rate, increases exercise tolerance in heart patients, leads to deeper levels of relaxation. It's great for people with high blood pressure, returns it to normal, reduces anxiety attacks by lowering levels of blood lactate, decreases muscle tension, any pain due to tension and headaches, builds self-confidence, increases serotonin production, which influences mood and behavior. Low levels of serotonin are associated with depression, obesity, insomnia, and headaches. Helps in chronic disease like allergies, arthritis, etc. Reduces premenstrual syndrome. Helps in post-operative healing. And also, even though it's not listed here, increases in spiritual connection. So, I mean, the benefits, I mean, I'm sure there's even more benefits that aren't listed here. So the benefits are quite endless. Meditation is huge. So, meditation, the word actually is similar to medicate or medical, and implies a sense of attending to or paying attention to something. In meditation, you pay attention to your most subtle bodies. Here again, we mentioned the inhale. We use the nose to inhale because it filters and moisturizes our air. We use the nose to exhale because it helps to calm the nervous system. It warms the muscles and blood. It helps to find relaxation. And lengthening our exhales is important to people in pain because it relaxes the nervous system, so it helps with physical pain. So we talk here a little bit about the 4 functions of the mind, and it always amazes me the more that learning about yoga is endless. It's so vast, and there's always more to learn. But the more that I learn, this ancient system, this ancient knowledge, and now they're scientifically proving the truth of, what these gurus and whatnot were saying, for eons. So, pretty cool how they had it all figured out even way back before they had the science and technology that we have today, right? Like, it's so cool. But the first function of the mind we call chitta. This is the memory. This is objects that come into the mind field from the hard drive. So the cerebellum sits in the back part of the brain, and this is usually where we hold all of our autopilot, stuff, the stuff that, all of our case files. So then we pull from the case file and we bring it up to the prefrontal cortex, the front of the mind, and this is where we view it in the present moment. So we have memory, and then we have the second function of the mind, and I put on here antakarana. Antakarana means inner instrument, so the mind. The second function of the mind is the manas, which is sensory motor mind. This is the thinking mind. This is the importer and exporter. The importer of sensory experience or sensory input, and it's the exporter of motion communication. So it's like the taking in, and then, what we use to like maybe speak it out or move the body, or, so it's something's coming in and going out, this manas. And then the third function of the mind is what we call ahamkara. This is the ego. This is the part of the mind that is the I am maker, the identity, the me, the mind, the maker, the part of the mind that identifies itself and identifies itself with the world. And then the fourth function of the mind is the buddhi. The buddhi is the intelligence, the discernment. So this is when we get to the part of the mind where we can be that observer. It's like pure conscious awareness. It's the part of us that they say is the God part, or the God consciousness. This isn't a place coming from memory, and it's not coming from a sensory, input place. It's not even coming from identity. It's an observing, a witness, consciousness. And then the 4 levels of consciousness, and it's really cool too because they identify the 4 levels of consciousness with the Om symbol, and that's really cool to break down, like the 1 loop and then the 2 loop, and then there's, and then there's the little circle at the top, which is the bindu, and then I don't know, and then there's like swoop. The swoop is supposed to represent the veil, the bindu is the pure consciousness, and then, then we have the 4 levels within that. Anyways, okay, so 4 levels of consciousness. We have the waking state. This is the conscious mind. This is at the gross level. And then the dream state, which is active unconscious, and it's at the subtle level. That's kind of like that, when we talk about the alpha brainwave, where the mind is not awake, but it's not asleep kind of state. So that's where we get into the unconscious material in Yoga Nidra. And then the deep sleep state, this is latent subconscious, and this is the causal plane. This is why we have dreams. We're tapping into the causal plane where everything is connected. The causal plane also too, sometimes we'll have thoughts and we'll be like, that's not, I wouldn't think that. Well, you were probably tapping into the causal plane here, and picking up someone else's thoughts, and then you have it, and you're just like, where did that come from? You were probably tapping into the causal plane. The causal plane also happens, tapping into that also shows like where someone has an idea or an invention, and then another person has an idea and an invention, and then they're like, you stole my idea. Well, it's not that they stole their idea, they both had the same idea, and it was coming from the causal plane, the collective consciousness. And then the pure consciousness is the 4th level of consciousness, and this is the absolute. So this is like, now, we've tapped into the collective where everybody is. Now we've went beyond that, and now we're tapped into that God consciousness or absolute reality. Yeah. Now, the 8 limbs of yoga, I mentioned all of them here, but the main ones we're going to focus on 5 through 8. But we've got the yama, then the niyama, and this is the ancients always said this is the way you should practice. First, you should learn the yamas and niyamas, the relationship of self and the relationship to the world kind of thing, the philosophy. And then, okay, now you have that down. Now you're ready for the actual asana practice. And now that you have the asana practice down, now we're going to introduce breathing techniques, pranayama. And then after pranayama, we go to pratyahara. We've talked a little bit about that, how it's a withdrawing of the senses. We've done the breath work. Now we want to start to go inward. We want to kind of, I hate to say disassociate, but like detach from the smells and sounds in the room, and stuff like that. And we're withdrawing our senses. And then we go into dharana, which is the concentration. Now we've withdrew our senses. Now we're concentrating. Maybe we're concentrating on the breath. Maybe we're concentrating on the tip of the nose. Maybe we're eye gazing. We'll get into the different meditation techniques. But it's a concentration or a focused, drishti kind of thing. Even if that's in the mental frame of mind. And then the dhyana is meditation or one with an object. So now you become one with the breath. You become one with whatever you're gazing. You become one, like you don't even recognize, the tip of the nose anymore. It's like you kind of lose yourself in the object. You've yoked. And then we experience samadhi,
This is super consciousness. This is the bliss. You know, this is when we've like forgotten we were a body, or forgotten we were sitting in meditation. We just went into this absolute reality. So a meditation analogy that I like to give sometimes, like for people who are like, well, why should I meditate, or how would meditation help me? You know, when the sea is rough, when you think about like when you go to the beach and you're kicking up the sand in the water, the water becomes muddy. You know, it's wavy and the sediment has churned up, and so it makes the water murky. Now you can no longer see to the bottom, you know, because it's murky with this churned up sand. But when things die down and becomes calm, like the sea calms and the mud gradually settles, it allows for the water to become clear again. And so that's kind of what we do with meditation. You know, the mind becomes so busy, and it can become so busy that we lose clarity. And so with meditation, we focus on quieting the mind. And, you know, can we let the thoughts come and go like clouds passing through, and not attaching and following them onto tangents? You know, can we just kind of like calm this sense of mind so that it becomes very clear? The goal is to stop distractions. Sometimes people will say, oh, well, you'll never stop thinking. Well, I've experienced non-thought. So I don't like to say that it's impossible to stop thinking, because it is possible, because I've experienced it through direct experience. But, you know, we want to make sure that we're not hard on ourselves. So we want to make our mind clearer and more lucid. We might feel that meditation is making our mind busier, but or just sitting here is making it difficult. But in reality, we just become more aware of how busy our mind actually is. So when someone first sits down for meditation, they're like, man, I can't do this. I can't stop thinking. Well, you're focused on stopping thinking. That's the problem. Like if I tell you, don't step forward, it makes you want to step forward even more when someone tells you not to do something, right? So if you sit down and I'm not going to think, you're just going to think even more. But it is a practice in becoming aware. We become aware, wow, my mind really is busy. I didn't even know it was that busy, you know, and that may be our first experience, but we don't want to get discouraged and not try again. So we treat it like a monkey, or the child mind, or the monkey mind, redirecting it as it's tempted to follow the tangents of thoughts. So like one of the things that I say is like a child that is wanting to put everything in its mouth. We're all familiar with a child that wants to put everything in its mouth. And maybe you have keys and you don't want the baby or the child to put the keys in its mouth. So you give it a rattle. You're like, no, don't want to put the keys in the mouth, here's a rattle. So you redirected their attention, you gave them something, and you kind of want to treat the mind like that. So the mind is going to be grabbing onto this. It's grabbing onto the sounds it hears and the smells it smells, and it's grabbing onto the body wants to itch, or it's grabbing onto, oh, I still have to do this, and I need to go to the laundromat, and I need to pick up groceries, or, you know, whatnot. It's like, it wants to grab everything. So what you do is you give it that rattle, and the breath is the rattle. You give it, you know, let's focus on the breath and redirect it. And let me just make sure. Instead of getting caught up in the instant gratification, it can take time. It's like working out at the gym. You work your brain just like you work your muscles. And it can take time to see results or reap benefits. Just be patient, loving, kind, and accepting of yourself. But every time the mind starts to wander to something outside of the breath, you just gently redirect it back to the breath. You become aware, oh wow, my mind wandered. And, you know, instead of beating yourself or being hard on yourself, like, oh, can't do this, or, you know, it wandered again, you know, think of it as an opportunity. Wow, I became aware that my mind had wandered. Because sometimes your mind will wander and you won't even become aware. So every time you become aware of it, instead of beating yourself up, look at it as, wow, I just became aware. It's a good thing. And then you gently redirect it back to the breath. And it's a practice. And what you're doing is you're strengthening the mastery over the mind, you know. But the more you judge or berate yourself, the more discouraged you'll become and you'll give up. But if you make an effort to meditate, then by default you are good at it. It's more of a do or not do thing versus you're good at it or bad at it, you know, if that makes sense. So some helpful aids in meditation is, one, make sure that you have a quiet atmosphere. You know, of course you can't really control outside cars and things like that, but what can you control inside? You know, maybe you can go into a quiet room with no TV, you know, of course you don't want people talking around you, preferably with like a quiet atmosphere, especially when you're beginning to learn. Maybe later on when you have it mastered, you can sit in rooms with people talking and meditate. But when you're trying to, if you're a beginner and you're trying to learn, then you would want a quiet atmosphere. Sometimes soft music, wave sounds, nature sounds, white noise kind of thing can help not kind of knock out a lot of those other distracting sounds and help you focus and concentrate a little bit more. So maybe a little bit of music on your phone or radio or whatnot. Incense sometimes is a nice little something to have. Lighting the incense can create a sense of ritual and ceremony. It can also, you know, kind of create like every day I'm going to do this little thing for myself and I'm going to treat it like this little ritual or a little ceremony, and so I might light some incense. You don't want a TV, you don't want bright lights, you don't want humming fluorescent lights. Maybe you want a notebook and pen, because sometimes when you're thinking or when you're meditating, a thought comes in like, oh, I can't forget this or can't forget that. And then it's really hard to concentrate and let the thought go because you're afraid of forgetting it. So if you have a notebook and pen, you can write it down and be like, okay, I'll handle that when I'm done, but I won't forget because I wrote it down. Now I can go into meditation. Comfortable positions. So a chair, you can always sit on a chair with the feet on the floor, you know, and maybe the hands on the lap. Sukhasana is how I'm sitting now, or easy sitting pose, also known as like Buddha pose, is one position. Virasana is to sit on the knees. Maybe you want to meditate, you know, like that. If the weight of the body is too much for the ankles, maybe you want to sit a block underneath here to lift the weight of the body off of the ankles. So you might sit on a block or a bolster. You can use a block and a bolster when you're in Sukhasana or easy sitting pose to get the hips a little higher than the knees so that the circulation flows, because sometimes when your legs start to fall asleep or your knees start hurting, then it kind of distracts you from your meditation. We want to make sure that the spine is straight to prevent our mind from becoming sluggish or sleepy. So when we start to slouch, the mind can become sluggish and sleepy. So I always say an erect spine is an alert spine. Erect spine is an alert spine. So sitting up nice and tall is really important, maybe even leaning up against a wall just to make sure you're still. Now you can always lie down and meditate, but you just want to make sure that you don't fall asleep, right? And if you fall asleep, that's okay if you can, but like the whole goal is to not. It's recommended to face the north or the east. You know, but it's totally up to you what you want to do. Of course, we always recommend it being a daily practice, and we want people to start small. So maybe with 2 minutes for the first day, and do this for like a week, and then on the second week, maybe increase it to 5 minutes. And then a week or two later, work your way up to 10 minutes. You'll know when you're ready to increase, but start small and work your way up. Because sometimes if we sit down, we're like, okay, I'm gonna meditate for 20 minutes, and then we're like, oh wow, this is really hard. It might discourage us, and then it might be another week before we even try to meditate again because we feel so discouraged. Where it's better to, again, empower ourselves with a little bit and be like, wow, I did that. And then tomorrow I'm going to do 2 minutes. And then the day after I'm going to do 2 minutes. And oh, now I'm in my second week. I'm doing 5 minutes. I'm doing great. You know, It's gonna give you more momentum to keep it going. The perfect time of day is gonna be different for different people. We always highly recommend first thing in the morning when you first come out of sleep because you're in that alpha brainwave. But a lot of times people automatically wake up into beta. As soon as they wake up, they're like, oh, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta go this, I gotta go where, blah, 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 just like, you know, they're already going into beta, you know. But if you can start to train yourself, how long can you stay in that alpha? How can you stay in that sleepy state and meditate? You know, of course, maybe try to sit up so you don't fall back asleep. But first thing out in the morning, roll out of bed can be very ideal. The benefits from your session flow into your day. It's a great way to start the day. And then sometimes people like the middle of the day to reset the day. And then some people like doing it before bed because if they have a hard time going to sleep, this might help them go to sleep. But sometimes meditation can energize people. So if you're one of those people where meditation energizes you, you may not want to be one of those, you may not want to practice it before you go to bed. So you'll know what time best suits you. If you can do it all three, you know, in the morning, in the middle of the day, and in the evening, wow, that would be freaking awesome. So, we talked a little bit about making it a ritual, part of your everyday routine. Make it sacred, light some incense or a candle, put on some music, do some yoga, personalize your daily ritual or daily sadhana. Meditation expands your mindfulness. Eventually, you'll notice how you can bring that mindful serenity into your everyday life. Instead of just swallowing food, you'll find yourself savoring it slowly and chewing thoroughly, feeling its taste, you know. Instead of just going for a walk, you'll notice and bask in the scenery around you. You'll notice colors, sounds, smells will deepen your living experience. It's like a camera zooming in on the now moment. You'll slow down and live in the present more. I think because of our culture and society, we just get so busy going and doing, and you know, we don't stop to smell the flowers. And meditation really does help one slow down a little bit and notice the flowers and appreciate the small things, and just it induces the quality of life. That makes sense. You doing okay? Any questions so far?
No, fine.
Okay. So we talked about Yoga Nidra. That would be considered a meditation technique. There's other guided meditations you can find on YouTube. There is an app called Insight Timer. They have guided meditations on there. They also have little timers that you can set for meditation. That little gongs or little sound bowls go off when your timer is up. There's other apps, I'm sure, probably tons. But YouTube is always free. You know, you can find different guided meditations on there, whether it's hertz, you know, like binaural beats, different frequencies, or, you know, maybe different, you know, maybe you want to meditate for the pineal gland, maybe you want to meditate for the chakras, you know, just depends on what you're needing, wanting, or interested in. All different sorts, you know, once you just lie back or you sit back and you listen to and follow the direction. Chakra meditations, of course, are gonna be really good. They say that you can even balance your chakras just by bringing awareness to them. So, you know, if you can, even maybe if you want to get into a daily practice of meditating and moving through each chakra, envisioning the color and things like that, you know, getting intuitively connected to this energy body so that you may notice, oh wow, my sacral chakra is off today, you know, but we can never notice that if we're not regularly checking in and getting connected and creating a relationship or connection with these parts of ourselves. So I would always highly recommend chakra meditation. Moon meditation is something you might do on the new moon or full moon, just connecting with the energies of the moon. You can always do a solar meditation too, maybe sunrise, sunfall. You know, they say eye gazing at those times of the day are really, really good for the pineal gland, really good for us to fight depression or, you know, just whatnot. So, you know, maybe a little eye gazing and then meditating to connect with the energies of the sun. I feel like I have to sneeze. Gratitude meditation. So gratitude is the most medicinal emotion. It can be very healing to focus on our blessings and you know, maybe that's more of a journal thing. You want to write down all the things you're thankful for, or maybe you just want to meditate on, you know, 3 things you're grateful for every day to just really enhance your mood and elevate your vibration. I will say I've taken a little further, so we've talked about gratitude for so long, but I feel like appreciation is even higher. So gratitude is medicinal, but appreciation is kind of like a mix between gratitude and love. Like when we appreciate something, you know, it's like mixing love and gratitude together. So I feel like appreciation is maybe even a higher frequency. There's the quantum field. You know, of course you can tap into the causal field, which is you know, the collective consciousness. And then you can tap into, you know, the absolute reality, which that's the main goal. But the quantum field, and I would say the quantum field is similar to the absolute reality. It's kind of like you become no thing so that you can become everything, and that is that absolute reality. And they say you can even, you know, start to visualize certain timelines, you know, like visualize where you want to go, who you want to be, what you want to do, what experience you want to do, and then think about magnetizing that timeline to you or calling it to you so you can manifest certain things. There is it's not listed on here, but the Akashic records are in our own DNA. So they say that our DNA is I want to say memory keeper. It's a storage. It has more storage, or it holds more storage than a flash drive on your computer. So, you know, you can go into the Akashic records within meditation. What you're doing is you're accessing a subtle part in your DNA to, you know, get into the Akashic records and see past lives, ancestors' lives, you know, things like that. Now, we go into meditation, the meditation technique of breath awareness. We talked a lot about, you know, pranayama, breath work, but turning that breath work then into your meditation, where you're just focused on your breath work, and this is maybe your meditation, and that's a technique where you're just focused on your breath. And so that is a technique that is worthy of noting. Another technique is chanting. So your voice is healing medicine for you. It was designed specifically for you. So the cells in your body are going to respond to your voice over anything outside of you or outside of itself, right? Words are powerful and perfect stimulators to activate and connect areas of the brain and change on a cellular level your consciousness and state of mind. So we do the chanting, and there's different things you can chant. They say a lot of the Sanskrit chants hold a high vibration, not only because of the words that were put together, but the meaning behind them, and so they hold this high vibration. But chanting helps to quiet the mind. So when you're so focused on saying the words of the chant, you don't have time or space to think about anything, because it's that dharana, it's that concentration. And then dhyana, you become one with the chant, where the chant is just flowing through you fluidly. And it helps to strengthen the immune system. Chanting balances our subtle energy system, allowing for deeper meditation. It produces a vibratory feeling, an inner vibration that penetrates on a cellular level. But then, you know, so we're doing this chanting, we don't have, you know, we don't talk, we've got the dharana, you know, the concentration, then we got the dhyana, becoming one, and then we stop chanting. And you're like there immediately because you've been so focused and concentrated, and then you come into that silence and you're there. You realize, like, you're there, you're in samadhi, or you're in that one state, that pure consciousness, the absolute reality, the no thing, everything all at once. What are you going to do with that? Oh, you're going to sit there and you're going to just feel it. It's like a really nice feeling. And soak it up, you know, kind of thing. So, and then Trawtech. Trawtech is a meditation technique. We say where the eyes go, the mind follows. So there's different techniques in Trawtech, but Trawtech is pretty much like gazing into something. And you can gaze into a candle flame. So candle meditation is a technique underneath the Trawtech umbrella. You know, so here's the Trawtech meditation technique, but then there's all these little techniques underneath. So candle meditation, we would gaze at the flame. Ideally, you want to put the flame at eye level so you can gaze at it. And then you want to close your eyes and you want to hold that mental image in the forefront of your mind. And every time you lose the vision or the image, you would open your eyes. There's the candle. Get it again, and then you close it. So it's kind of like a practice. You know, and you can even turn it into a challenge for yourself. How long can I keep the image? Oh, I kept the image in my mind for 5 minutes today. Well, next time I'm going to try for 6 or something like that. You know, how long can you hold the image here in your mind without losing it or without distraction or, you know, having to open the eyes up again. So there's geometric symbols like the flower of life, the seed of life, Metatron's cube, the Merkaba, you know, there's all different sorts of sacred geometry that you could focus on gazing at. You could even draw them. They say that can be very meditative to draw them, but definitely gazing at them and then, you know, doing what you did with the candle, like can you close your eyes and can you see the flower of life here? And every time you lose that, you know, open your eyes again and a yantra. So yantras are specific geometric shapes. A lot of times for the chakras, you'll see the yantras. I used to have a chakra thing on the wall, but I took it down. But if you wanted to dive deeper into what do they look like, you could always Google. Usually they're like, they're kind of a square, but sometimes squared with like designs around them, and then there's designs inside of them. Sometimes they'll have Sanskrit inscriptions in them or symbols and things like that. There's a yantra for every chakra. Yantras are also like utilized in Tantra yoga a lot, but they're, you know, definitely a Trawtech meditation tool. Buddhas. So we might gaze at a Buddha, and it's funny because sometimes people will be like, you know, you're worshiping the Buddha. We're not worshiping the Buddha. We're concentrating on embodying the Buddha elements, like the peace, the compassion, the kindness, you know. So we might gaze at the Buddha and close our eyes, you know, and think about being the Buddha, becoming one with the Buddha. Being the Buddha is, you know, and having that and activating that Buddhi level of consciousness, you know, with the oneness, with the, you know, all state of love kind of thing. Okay, we talked about candle and flame. A flower, you could do Trawtech meditation, gazing at a flower, and then, you know, closing your eyes and envisioning the flower in your mind. It might be a picture of a saint, a prophet, or a guru. Wow, I spelled prophet wrong. But, you know, it might be gazing at them and then closing your eyes, and then maybe, you know, opening your eyes and gazing at them. Color, you can do different color, and different colors have different vibrations and different frequencies, and so depending on maybe the chakras that you're wanting to improve the quality of your sacral chakra, then you would gaze at the color orange and really meditate and focus on the color orange. But Trawtech meditation steadies the mind, it steadies the nervous system, it improves eyesight. Sun gazing also improves eyesight. Stimulates brain, thought, optic nerve. So really, really good to do. So that's Trawtech. Okay, before moving on to the japa, I will say this. One of my friends does a lot of deep dives. He calls them deep dives. So there again, maybe you're connecting to the causal plane. but if there's a certain something, so he'll say mustard seeds for an example. He'll pick some random herb or weird thing that he's like, we're doing a deep dive on mustard seeds, and I'm like, okay, have fun with that. But like they'll feel into the energy or vibration or frequency of mustard seeds. What does mustard seeds have to teach me today? You know, they've done ayahuasca, like without even doing ayahuasca, and they've tapped into the frequency of ayahuasca and had experiences that were very similar to an ayahuasca trip. They've done mushrooms, you know, they do these like deep dives into all different sorts of stuff, and they pick up on like the energies and the frequencies, or if there's certain medicines or information messages type thing, you know. So that's always interesting. But japa meditation, there's another handout that I put on here about mala beads in japa meditation. But in japa meditation, we give mantras. And this can be like similar to the chanting. It can be a Sanskrit word or Sanskrit phrase. And mantras are traditionally handed down teacher to disciple for thousands of years. They help to develop spiritual vibration within you, and it helps to keep you focused and aware. You feel the meaning of the mantra. You repeat with a still mind. You let it sink deep into the subconscious, so it's kind of like you're programming the mind. And with your mala beads, you would move them through the fingers. So we keep the index finger out because the index finger is represented a lot of times as the ego, because it's the finger that points at others. So keep the index finger out, but a lot of times we'll lay the mala over that middle finger, and we'll use the thumb, and we'll move bead by bead, and we'll say the mantra when we're doing with the mala beads. We'll, like, maybe the word is peace, and so we might say peace, peace in our mind, peace for every single word, and there's 108 beads in a mala bead, so then we know we've said it 108 times when we've made it all the way around the mala. And we're, you know, it's almost like you're programming the subconscious, or you're programming, you know, peace as a staple, I guess, in your mind. Where maybe it's, you know, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. You know, and you'll say that over and over. You know, I am one with the ultimate teacher. But the Meru means the abode of the gods at the center of the universe. And that's what that little piece on your mala beads, I wish I would have wore some today, whether it's a little tassel or a little bead, extra bead or charm, that is the Meru, right? And so that's what we use to know, okay, now I've made it all the way around. I've said my mantra 108 times because I'm back to the Meru bead. You rest them all between the ring and the middle. Do not use the index. Have the mirror on the inside toward you. So the little Meru bead or tassel or charm would be on the inside toward you, and you would use the thumb to move the beads. And you can do it toward you. I've done it away from me before too, so whatever feels natural for you. You just want to make sure. I mean, in toward you, I like the idea of that because you're planting seeds into the subconscious mind. You want it to be inward. And then when you reach the mirror, do not cross over. So that's one thing. If you want to do it again, let's say you're doing 216 mantras that day, you wouldn't cross the Meru over. You would take the beads and turn the beads around and begin again. And yeah, for this handout, talks a little bit, I'll just read it. For centuries, malas were used in Buddhism and Hinduism for keeping count while reciting, chanting, and mentally repeating a mantra or the name of a deity during prayer and meditation. In the past, they were traditionally made from the seeds of the Rudraksha tree, which in Sanskrit originates from the word for the Hindu god Shiva, Rudra, paired with the word for teardrops. It's said in ancient Vedic texts that Shiva went into a deep meditative state to hold space for the healing of all beings, and when he opened his eyes, tears of compassion fell upon the earth in the form of these sacred seeds to help transcend humanity. Today, malas are made with materials like crystals, lava, sandalwood, rose quartz, jade, many other stones alongside the traditional rudraksha seeds. The significance of 108 in Hinduism, the number 108 has long been considered sacred, but its meaning is open to interpretation. Renowned Vedic mathematicians believed 108 was the number that represented the wholeness of existence. Some have said that there are 108 stages on the journey of the human soul, and others link achieving spiritual alignment with the practice of taking 108 breaths a day while in meditation. According to yogic tradition, there are 108 sacred places on the body, as well as 108 sacred sites throughout India. There's also something astrologically, too, about the way that the sun and the moon orbit, or something around the earth. So japa is special recitation and count of a set number of prayers or mantras for a set spiritual or everyday purpose. There are the hand malas. They have 27 plus the guru bead. You can wear them on a wrist or an ankle or whatnot, but this is internal applications. Where are we? Can be used for prayers, recitation, count of mantras, or just as a reminder of spirituality. The full malas have to be kind of 108, are worn around the neck or on the wrist, used for prayer, recitation, count of mantras. Mantras are sacred sounds said aloud or quietly in the mind that bring in spirituality, changes, healing, awareness, or other effects. But it can even change things on a cellular or a vibrational level. Guru or Mount Meru bead, the large bead included in the mala that represents the teacher, the guru, or the center of the earth, Mount Meru. When using the mala, this bead is not crossed. It stores the mantras or prayers being used, and the opposite direction is used. So, okay, so then we'll go down to walking meditation is another meditation technique. Very simple. You want to walk in an even, slow pace. You want to keep a 3-foot distance or an average stride length from the person in front of you. So I don't know if you've ever seen, like, they'd have the little, the monks or the Buddhas in Buddhist colonies, they would do the walking meditation with each other, all lined up, so you would walk behind, and you might look down at the person's heels in front of you and just, try to concentrate, and they would all walk perfectly, but let's say you don't have anyone, so you're gazing at their heels, but let's say you're by yourself. You want to be mindful so you don't trip, so making sure the ground or pavement or whatever you're walking on is even, and but walking in, you might gaze at the ground in front of you just to make sure you're not going to trip or anything, but you want to like walk in such a way that it's soft and rhythmic, and maybe with your breath you kind of feel if outdoors you can go in a path, indoors you can move in a circle. I've done walking meditations in this room. We circle on the perimeter of the room, and it's not my favorite technique, I guess, but it's a technique that can be done. Vedanta. So Vedanta is contemplation or introspection. This is like mindfulness, insights, svadhyaya. It's where we kind of start to go, who am I? Am I awake now? Am I fully present in this moment? Am I this body? It's where we use words and dialogue to start a vibration or start an inner dialogue, and we might open up and be receiving to answers to our questions, but we let go of anything that is not your true essence. So when we say, who am I? Well, I'm not these clothes, I'm not this body, I'm not this hair, I'm not this label, like you're almost stripping away all of the illusion of Maya, stripping all the illusion away so that you can get to your true essence. At your core, who are you? Am I consciousness? Am I love? Am I, you know, kind of thing. Meditation is also known as loving kindness meditation. This involves sending goodwill, kindness, and warmth to others. Research suggests that people that meditate this way report a decrease in self-criticism and release serious emotional tension, a potential trigger for health issues like migraines. So when we're, you know, focused on sending love to others, it's almost like that boomerangs back to us, you know, so any kind of hardness we were being on ourselves then starts to turn into love and care and things like that. We begin to focus our attention on our heart center, you know, and then inhales and exhales and, you know, deep breaths here. We become aware of the sensations in this part of the body. We're, you know, on the heart. And then we might think a thought or a phrase like, I send my love and kindness to blank. And the practice is always to start with someone that you love, which becomes very easy. Oh, I love my child. You know, that's very easy. I send my loving kindness to my child. Very easy. Then we move on to like more of a neutral person, like the mailman or our favorite waitress or, you know, whatever. I send my loving kindness to, you know, because it's a neutral person. We don't have any agitation towards them. So it may not be as passionate as the love that we feel for our child. But we understand the concept, we feel the frequency of sending our love to this person. Then we move on to someone who's on our shit list. That's a horrible way to say it. So who's someone we're struggling with. Someone that, you know, maybe it's a coworker that just drives us nuts, or maybe it's our boss, or maybe it's our spouse at the time. You know, whoever is like really getting on your nerves. Then we start to be like, okay, I send my loving kindness. And we may notice, we may feel the resistance, we may feel the challenge, we may feel like this is not as easy as sending my love to my child, you know, but like it's a practice, so we just continue to practice. And I've noticed even in my personal practice and doing that, those relationships start to change. They either get easier or they vibrate out of my life altogether. So it works. If it's I send my love and kindness to blank, or you could say I send peace and goodwill to, you know, and you can even spread that out to like, I send peace and goodwill to all the homeless people. I send peace and goodwill to, you know, all the people in Russia and Ukraine and Gaza, and, you know, like you can start doing that for, you know, people who you know are hurting and could use your light and love. So I can never say it right. Ho'oponopono. This is a powerful spiritual self-healing technique. It's a Hawaiian meditation technique, and we just recite these 4 little sentences. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And you can do this towards others in a meta loving kindness meditation technique way. You know, you might say that to someone you're struggling with. You might say that to someone you love or that you had a fight with, you know. And then you want to start turning it towards yourself. You know, so the goal is for it to be a self-forgiveness practice. So you eventually want to turn those words towards yourself. And then you can get creative. I've even done a Ho'oponopono with water, like while I was in the shower, you know, for, you know, the humans that have trashed the water, the ocean, you know, I tell the water, you know, I'm sorry, please forgive me, forgive us, thank you, I love you. And water holds memory. It is very spiritual, and it's one of our elements. And so connecting with the water and having that conversation with the water was super healing for me, and kind of opened up a doorway, and now like I communicate with water. It almost was like it was the beginning of a lifelong conversation now. But so yeah, I would recommend. Okay,
we got through meditation. Do you have any questions? That was a lot. There's a lot of different techniques. And I'm sure there's probably even more that aren't even on that list of techniques. I'm sure there's different, all sorts of different guided meditations. And I've even had people begin to write their own scripts of guided meditations, and that can get creative and fun and yeah. So.
I like meditation. That was an interesting one.
Yeah. Do you have a certain favorite technique?
I like to do it in the bathtub.
Yeah? Oh, look at you in the bathtub and I'm in the shower.
The ritual, I just like to just have a warm bath, and especially if I'm stressed and anxious, and then I can sit quietly in there and meditate, submerge yourself a little bit, even.
Yeah. I love it. But no questions or anything.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that's it for meditation.